Include that April 7th game against St. Louis this because it was about as close to a playoff game as you could get. So in the last three third periods, you've allowed just 11 shots and only 41 attempts, which is under 30% of them getting through to the net. And you didn't really, you had the lead in some points, but not for all of it. What are you doing there without giving up trade secrets? Or are you doing something different than as opposed to the first four?
No, I don't think we are. Obviously, game one, we were slow to get out of the gate. Last night we were probably the first 6 minutes before that, first 6-7 minutes before the timeout, they got some rush chances. We didn't give up much, and after that, all the way actually through the second was pretty good. They got a few on the PK, but that's kind of our game. It goes up a notch because of the third period, and the games are tight. It's one thing about St. Louis; these games have been tight every time. So maybe a little more detailed when it comes to it. I think that you could probably say that for a lot of teams. In the third period, you really you're paying attention to your details.
Don't have a chance to talk to any of the centers today, so I don't know how much in depth you can get on this or not. But in the first game against Vegas and Minnesota, Brian Pancic got hurt, and they had to bring in Freddie Lequier, the referee, to be the linesman. But they had Ryan Gibbons handling most of the faceoffs, and we noticed that last night when Andrew Smith went out, that Ryan Daisy also dropped the puck a lot. How much of an art is that between the linesman and the referee for dropping those pucks and making sure the face-offs get done?
Yeah, they came over and told us that Ryan was going to do all the drops. So, to put a lot of pressure on the other guy to come in and cold like that. But he was more kind of working the lines, getting himself up and running. But they said that Ryan was going to do all the dropping, which helps a lot because that's sort of the tendency throughout the game. You get a feel for the linesman, for our centerman. You get a feel for how they drop the puck, and all of a sudden you get somebody new in there. It kind of changes it midstream.
With Connor Hellebuyck, in a game like that, when the shots are a lot lower, the first two games actually, someone can look at just the stat sheet and say his save percentage is under 900. But the timely saves that Connor have made for you guys, take away the numbers, just how much of a momentum shift has that been for you guys in certain pockets? We talked about Scheifele and Connor, but Hellebuyck's importance to the series. I'm curious your thoughts.
Oh, well, it's huge, but I think that's happened a lot over the course of the year too. There's been a lot of situations where he hasn't got a lot of work, and all of a sudden there's a 10-bell one that comes right down the pipe, and he has to be ready for it. And I think that's Helly. He has to be focused and dialed in all the time. There might be nights where he gets bombarded, and he has to stand on his head multiple times. And there's times where, like in game one in that second period, he didn't have a whole lot, and all of a sudden he gets a breakaway coming the other way. And those are big moments, and that's why he is what he is. He's obviously he is one of the best in the league. Is that no matter how this scenario plays out in a game, he's ready for it. Whether that's a ton of work, like I mentioned earlier, that first 6-7 minutes we gave up some opportunities, and he made some big stops, and a couple of them were point blank in the middle of the ice, and that keeps us kind of in the game to start and getting up and running, getting going again.
I want to ask you one on Adam Lowry. I talked to him a couple of days when he was saying how, in looking back in last year and stuff, he took it very, personally how the match with McKinnon went. And then you see how the first two games this year and all season, he thrives in those tough matchups and shutting down other teams' best players. I'm curious from your vantage point, what leads into that? What makes Adam Lowry able to do that and to take on those assignments?
That he knows that that's part of what his makeup and he's going to have to do every night, that he's going to be playing against one of the other team's top lines, and it goes a long way for us having success. It's the points and the numbers, the goals, the shutouts, all those things get a lot of recognition, but it's those role players, the guys that have to do that shutdown stuff. You throw Samberg, Pionk in there. I mean, even Melton, DeMello, and Morrissey, when they go against the other team's top six, that there's a lot of pride in that, and we talk about it lots about. If you nullify the elite players on the opposition, that goes a long way to us having success. And I just look at this series so far. The other side of it for Lau, he's going head to head against Shen, and you guys are seeing what Shen can do too. Those two have been, both Lau and Shen have been bulls. They've been absolute bulls, and they run it into each other, and they're running into everybody else on the ice, and that's the matchup we need. And then the other side, you got Thomas and going against Scheif, and there's a great matchup happening as well. So it kind of draws itself out as the series goes on. You kind of run into the same guy all the time, but that's a challenge Lau loves.
You said after game one your penalty kill was maybe a little too aggressive. Changes that you've made still look pretty darn aggressive. Is it fair to say that you have tweaked things and you are just as aggressive but in a different, maybe more efficient
the other night it meant we went after it, and we had too many numbers against. It was 3 against 2, and they had obviously the 2 guys on the weak side wide open. There's just situations where we push when we shouldn't have pushed, and then when we're aggressive smart. I thought last night that's what we were a little bit better in that, getting our reads a little bit better, and kind of you get a game under your belt. I know that we played them during the regular season, saw them a couple of weeks ago, but they're still doing things that are adjusting each and every game, and that's what we're trying to stay one step ahead of them with our pressure.
Scott, I want to ask you about Dylan Samberg. We've seen him play a number of great games. Last night, by my eyes, that's one of the best I've seen him play. I don't know how many plays he sort of killed at your blue line with his stick. Just how have you seen his ability to, whether it's knocking those pucks down or just standing up on a rush to kill plays? And do you guys track that stat? Like, I imagine he'd be among the best in the league at it at this point.
Yeah, I think that when I talked to guys after game one, he was one of the guys that was extremely nervous, and he was one of those guys that it took a while to get settled in. And I thought last night he looked really composed coming out of the gate. And the thing about him is that we've asked at the start of the year to take on a big role, and going from a 5'6" to into a top 4 defenseman, you're facing elite talent every night, and just his talents, his skill set with his feet, with his stick, like you say, the thing we love about him the most is that he defends above our blue line so much because he's such a good skater, and he's running into Thomas, Kyrou, like he's running into Busnevich, like there's some real skill coming at him. He does a great job, like you mentioned, with his stick, but that's kind of what we've been getting from him all year long, and him and P as a pair, that's 2 real good pairs are going against their top 6, and that's what you need at this time of year.
And then just another scheduled question. I know you were asked, I think, before the series started about how you felt about all these extra days, and said, well, maybe circumstance would depend on that. So now with a 2-0 lead, do you almost wish Game 3 was tomorrow and there weren't these breaks in between? Or, it is what it is.
A little bit of both. If we're planning on playing a while, I don't mind our guys. We got some guys, as St. Louis would probably say, the same thing, to get back to healthy, in the sense ready to play another game, and because it's heavy and it's fast, and there's a lot of energy being spent, so I'm okay. It is what it is. It's both teams are going through it. I get it gives a lot of our top players an extra day to kind of get set again.
Did you come through game 2 unscathed?
So far.
Any chances, are you hopeful Gabe could play game 3?
Maybe.
Okay.
We'll see what that color of the jersey is tomorrow.
Better than no
Full
color.
practice tomorrow. See what the color. You coming?
Okay, yeah, sure.
Are you coming?
I'll send word.